What you are about to witness is not an opinion nor a collection of bitter anecdotes. It is a clinical, data-driven autopsy of the female soul. In the aftermath of marital collapse, within the next minutes, you will be given a key forged in forgotten archives and modern data sets. A key that unlocks the terrifying predictability of what happens to a wife after she leaves, revealing truths few dare to face or study. The benefit of this brutal knowledge is not shodden but power. The power to understand the invisible forces that shattered your world. And the power to never be blindsided by them again, to see patterns others miss, and to reclaim control from chaos and emotional ruin. Our dissection begins not with emotion but with a number so cold, so clinical, it belies the hurricane of human drama. That number is 73. According to a longitudinal study in the Journal of Health and Social Behavior, it tells a story. Within the first 18 months after a divorce, 73% of women experience a sharp negative socioeconomic shift. This is not just a dip in disposable income, it is the collapse of an entire life structure, the fall of comfort into calculation. The comfortable home becomes a cramped apartment. The private schools fade into memory. Groceries become a budgeting exercise. This is the first layer of unraveling. The external collapse that precedes the inner one, the most visible and easiest to measure. Many men, watching from the outside, feel a bitter flicker of vindication. But do not be fooled. That sight is only the beginning. This collapse merely triggers a far deeper and more fascinating psychological chain, one hidden under polished appearances. To understand it, we travel back to a time when society itself disintegrated, the Great Plague of London in 1665. History records death tolls and devastation, but the truth lives in diaries of survivors, in words of Samuel Pepys himself. Pepys wrote of a city where the social contract wasn't broken but burned, and in that void, something primal re-emerged in women. Wives of merchants and sailors lost at sea found themselves untethered. Their protection, status and safety vanished overnight. Pepys described frantic feral scrambles for new male protection, not mere survival, but the rebuilding of a lost hierarchy. He told of one widow seen within a week on the arm of a wealthy, corrupt official. Neighbors whispered, judged, but he understood. He wrote, "In the shadow of the pit, all virtue becomes a currency to be spent on continued breath." It was cold truth. That case was no anomaly. It was a blueprint. A primal survival instinct dormant in peace, awakened by crisis and loss. Modern comfort and feminism do not erase it. They only lull it to sleep, waiting for the shock to reactivate what lies beneath. The divorce court is the modern plague pit, the legal decree, the death certificate of the old life. And the scramble begins anew. This brings us to Mark, a software engineer, a provider, a good man by all accounts. He built a life for his wife, Sarah. They lived in quiet suburbia. 2 children, a golden retriever, a modest dream. Then one day she said she was unhappy. She told him she needed to find herself. Mark was devastated. He imagined her alone, struggling, regretting. He was wrong. Within 2 months, Sarah was unrecognizable. Her minivan replaced by sports cars, her weekends by parties, her feed by luxury. Photos from restaurants, Vegas trips, concerts he could never afford. Different men, fitness trainer, entrepreneur, older suitor. Her job as a part-time yoga instructor couldn't fund any of it. The truth, she'd found temporary providers, not herself. Evolutionary psychologists call it a short-term mating strategy, exchanging intimacy and access for immediate resource gain. This is the party phase, the manic celebration of freedom, validation, and denial. It shouts, "I'm still desirable." Data backs this. A 1990s University of Michigan study found women start new relationships 40% faster than men. Yet those relationships are unstable and transient, psychological anesthesia that numbs loss but never heals the wound. The thrill, the dinners, the adventures, they mask a deeper terror, silence, regret, and the echo of an empty apartment. It is not healing, it is escape disguised as rediscovery, joy borrowed from tomorrow's despair, a flight from the self. But the anesthetic fades, the parties end. The temporary providers drift away, the filtered photos stop, silence returns. In that silence roots the second phase, the great resentment, where collapse and regret fuse into a single toxic identity. Freedom curdles into bitterness. The mind cannot blame itself, it would shatter. So it performs dark alchemy, projection. The ex-husband becomes the villain, the architect of all misery. Every flaw magnified, every past failure rewritten as sin. He is no longer just a man. He is the reason she hurts, the scapegoat her psyche requires to survive its own contradictions. Dr. J.M. Diamond called this narrative splitting, a rewriting of the past into a simple tale of victim and villain. His study of 500 couples showed women's recollections diverging drastically after 18 months of divorce. Their memories realigned with their pain, rewriting the husband as monster, themselves as the eternal wronged and pure. Thus begins the parental alienation, the false accusations, the weaponization of children, all fueled by psychic survival. David, an accountant, lived this hell. His wife Elena turned their daughter's love into a loyalty test built on lies. He wasn't fighting Eleanor, he was fighting her fortress, the dragon she needed him to be. Every word proved her story true. And that is the fire of resentment. It feeds on rewritten history until nothing remains but ashes of reason and affection. We've charted the first leg of this dark journey, the external collapse, the party phase, and the fire of great resentment. We've seen the plague-era widow reborn in Instagram posts and cold data revealing predictable human reactions to loss. The mind, desperate for coherence, burns the past to light its path forward. The first 18 months are only reaction. But what happens when the dust settles? When resentment cools into something fixed and enduring beneath the surface? The story then divides into three paths: the jaded realist, the perpetual victim, and the rarest, the phoenix. A 1950s study hinted at these same archetypes. Psychological destinies shaped not by events, but by inner structure. The next revelation is chilling. The deciding factor isn't money, lovers, or therapy. It's a hidden biological switch. That switch, buried deep within her psyche, determines whether she stays bitter forever or rebuilds from the ruins. These 18 months of reaction are not destiny, just prelude. When silence falls, true character begins its test. The rubble ceases to be debris and becomes landscape. The question changes from "how did I survive?" to "who am I now?" Most women evolve into one of three archetypes, paths etched by habit, pain, and belief, each shaping generations. The first and most common, the perpetual victim. Her rage cools into identity. The divorce becomes her eternal story. Her misery transforms into a creed. "He ruined me" becomes mantra, shield, and excuse for every future disappointment. Sociologist Dr. Eleanor Rushford called it post-divorce identity crystallization in her 15-year longitudinal study. Nearly half her subjects fell into this loop. Life satisfaction flatlined, social circles shrank, resentment calcified. Their world narrowed to those who validated the grievance. Every challenge became proof of oppression or betrayal. Careers stalled. Children were weaponized through loyalty tests to sustain the shared myth of the father's villainy. Rushford's conclusion was devastating. Some found more reward in being wronged than in building a happy new life. Her funding vanished, journals buried her work. But her numbers remain, a ghostly testament to comfortable misery. Robert and Claire embody this fate. 10 years on, he rebuilt his life. She froze hers in a shrine to the marriage lost. The same furniture, same photos, now relics of accusation. Every success of his interpreted as guilt or manipulation. She rejects joy because happiness would collapse the narrative that sustains her identity, the story of being wronged. She prefers predictable sorrow over the terror of accountability. Nietzsche foresaw it. Truth feels like a wound. For her, the lie is oxygen, the truth, a lethal injection. Thus she lives embalmed, breathing through grievance. The second archetype rises from failed euphoria, the jaded realist, forged in disappointment and pragmatic armor. Her party phase ended in disillusion, validation soured to cynicism. She trusts no one, depends on no one. She rebuilds alone, channeling need into ambition. She climbs ladders, earns degrees, masters control. Financially she thrives, emotionally she freezes. Every romance is a transaction measured in risk, not love.